Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, President Trump's special representative for international negotiations, Jason Greenblatt, warned that unless the Palestinian Authority decides to actively partake in regional efforts to realize a solution for the Gaza Strip, others would fill the void. Jerusalem continues to play an active role in the reinstated international economic sanctions against Iran, with Israeli Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon, during a meeting with his American counterpart Steven Mnuchin, agreed to set up a joint task force that will aim to step up enforcement of sanctions on Iran in the high-tech sector. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi announced that the Hashemite Kingdom would lead a campaign to raise funds for UNRWA to help it survive after Washington's decision to slash its funding. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that Israel was continuously rising within the international community, becoming a force to reckon with as it gradually transforms into a global power. During an address the Prime Minister made at the Jewish New Year toast with Israel's local council heads, Netanyahu stressed that the ongoing successes of the Jewish state does not emanate from concessions made by the international community, but rather from an ongoing resilient persistence on preserving the country's security interests. Netanyahu also took the opportunity to warn of the crucial demand to preserve the country's qualitative edge, stressing that the more Israel advances, the more its enemies advance too.
ככל שאנחנו מתקדמים, צריך להכיר בכך שגם אויבינו מתקדמים. אנחנו צריכים כל הזמן, להיות בשפיץ של היכולות שלנו, כדי להבטיח שאנחנו תמיד יכולים להבטיח שהעם הזה ימשיך לחיות כאן, במדינה שלנו, בבטחה ובקדמה בלתי פוסקת. וזה מחייב אותנו לפעול פעולה עקבית ונחרצת נגד הניסיונות של איראן וגורותיה באזור הזה לפגוע בנו. צה"ל וזרועות הביטחון, בהנחיית הממשלה בראשותי, פועלים יום ולילה להבטיח את השקט והביטחון בכל הגזרות.
Meanwhile, Jerusalem continues to play an active role in the reinstated international economic sanctions against Iran. Israeli Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon, who is on a work visit to the United States, met with his American counterpart Steven Mnuchin, during which they discussed, among others, Washington's efforts to bolster its international sanctions regime on Tehran's economy. According to a statement, Kahlon and Mnuchin agreed during a meeting to set up a joint task force that will aim to step up enforcement of sanctions on Iran in the high-tech sector. In addition to the joint efforts against Iran, Secretary Mnuchin and Minister Kahlon also agreed that the US-led international summit to strengthen the Palestinian economy would be held in the Swiss city of Davos in January, with foreign ministers from Europe, the Gulf states, and Saudi Arabia in attendance. After the meeting with Secretary Mnuchin, Minister Kahlon met with President Trump's special representative for international negotiations, Jason Greenblatt. The two discussed ways of promoting joint Israeli-Palestinian economic projects that will be backed by the United States. Following their meeting, Greenblatt lashed out at the Palestinian Authority for criticizing Washington's decision to reduce the financial aid it grants the Palestinian leadership in the West Bank and Gaza. The American envoy stressed that the Palestinian Authority could not criticize from the sidelines, as it continues to refuse partaking in any political process in the region, including efforts by Egypt. Greenblatt warned that unless the Palestinian Authority decides to actively partake in regional efforts to realize a solution for the Gaza Strip, others would fill the void. In related news, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, warns that schools in the Gaza Strip were in danger of closing and that the school system was liable to collapse next month if no budget source were found to cover the deficits. Its spokesperson in the Hamas-run enclave, Ayman Abu Hassana, said that because of the cuts in the American aid money, it would only be possible to pay for the expenses of the UNRWA-run schools in the Palestinian enclave for 1 month, and that the budget would be used up by the end of next month. He also warned that the collapse in the school system was liable to cause a social disaster to undermine security and stability in the Gaza Strip, pointing to the fact that 80% of the schools in Gaza belong to UNRWA. Meanwhile, in Amman, Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi announced the Hashemite Kingdom would lead a campaign to raise funds for UNRWA to help it survive after Washington's decision to slash its funding. In a meeting with the UN agency's chairman, Pierre Greenblatt, the Jordanian top diplomat warned that any shortage in funding will mean a lack of services for Palestinian refugees, which subsequently will drive hundreds of thousands towards deprivation, despair, and difficult living conditions.
الخدمات الأساسية الضرورية التي تقدمها UNRWA لضمان العيش الكريم كما قلت أكثر من 5 ملايين لاجئ في مناطق عملها ال5، لضمان الحق في التعليم والحق في الطبابة والحق إلى غير ذلك من الخدمات الأساسية التي تقدمها UNRWA. فبالتالي أي نقص في هذا التمويل يعني نقص في تقديم هذه الخدمات، يعني دفع عشرات الآلاف مئات الآلاف نحو الحرمان واليأس وإلى غير ذلك من الأوضاع المعيشية الصعبة.
It is important to note that Jordan, which numbers a population of 10.17 million people, houses some 2.2 million UN-registered Palestinian refugees whom are entitled to UNRWA's aid and services. That is why Minister Safadi revealed that Jordan will call for an Arab League meeting to lobby for donors to cover the $200 million shortfall needed to bolster UNRWA's ability to function. The UNRWA chairman, on his part, stressed that one cannot wish 5.3 million Palestinian refugees away, asserting that so long as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues, UNRWA will continue to implement the mandate given to it by the United Nations General Assembly.
And one cannot wish 5.3 million Palestinian refugees away. These are people who have rights and for many years now, for decades, have faced a plight and an injustice that is simply immense. And in our determination, as long as a just and lasting solution has not been found to the issue of Israel and Palestine and to the conflict, we will continue to implement the mandate that the General Assembly has given us.
Last week, the Jordanian foreign minister raised the plight of UNRWA with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Washington, during which Safadi reportedly warned his American counterpart of dangerous consequences to regional stability if the financial crisis was not resolved. Nevertheless, several days later, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said at the summit for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies that neither the Palestinian leadership nor UNRWA can expect for continued U.S. aid as long as they continue to preach and teach anti-American sentiments.
When you look at UNRWA, there's a couple of issues there. First of all, you're looking at the fact that, yes, there's an endless number of refugees that continue to get assistance, but more importantly, the Palestinians continue to bash America. They have their hand out wanting UNRWA money. We were supposed to, the last time, give them $130 million. We cut it in half, saying that they really needed to reform and fix the things they were doing, because they teach anti-Israeli and anti-American things in their textbooks. They are not necessarily doing things that would cause peace. They tend to, it's very political. So instead of the $130 million, we give them $65 million. They didn't say thank you. UNRWA had them protest in the streets that we didn't give more.
When asked whether she thought it would be good to integrate UNRWA into the main refugee agency of the United Nations, Haley emphasized that unless UNRWA advances in implementing crucially needed reform, integrating one flawed agency into another does not fix the problem.
UNRWA can stay there, and we will be a donor if it reforms what it does, if it goes and makes sure that they're not doing those teachings in textbooks, if they actually change the number of refugees to an accurate account. We will look back at partnering them. But otherwise, you're just molding an organization that has flaws into another organization, and that's not fixing the problem. I think we have to go further than that.
Thank you for joining us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Yair Pinto. Have a good evening. Shabbat Shalom. And we will see you again on Monday at the same time.